Good morning. We're going to get started in a few minutes. No rush. For those in Discord, we're going to be switching. We're switching to the public version of the Discord. All right. Good morning, everybody. Get the face up here today. E Grizzly. Well, so if you are trading this fine Friday here, starting with the indexes, we need to see where we're at within the series. So we're going to see we're at recent highs on the SPY. At this point, right, we were full time frame continuity up as of the close, but we were inside day. So we did not have control to the buyers. Now we're going to be opening inside bar reversal gap down. And you could call this a kicking variation. Didn't quite go out at the highs, but it was bright green yesterday. So potentially you got some problems for the buyers this morning to start the day. And if we zoom in here, you'll see we had some pivots to come back through. However, we've taken out 3 or 4 actually of the 5 nearby pivots. So we'll have to see how that opens up when looking at the weekly basis. Since it's a Friday, we want to ask, what is this going to create for next week? So if this gap down stays weak, next week would be the shooter back through previous range. So if we can get any shorts today, that's what we'd be setting up. Now, since the whole market's gapping down, it could turn into the gap down buy. So we like to, keep an open mind with, what we're thinking here. But we'll say, to the downside, 312 down on the SPY. Qs will be a 212 down Qs. And you're going to have the same thing, top of the broadening formation. But we have a lot of sub triangles or sub broadening formations that can play out in here. So we'll see in here at 526 to open. So we've already taken out all the pivots, which isn't what we prefer pre-market. We like to trade back through previous range. We don't like to gap into it. So we'll have to let them open, see how it goes. Then the Dow Jones. You will see this is your broadening formation. So they reversed down yesterday and they're continuing that today. So one of the weaker ones. Then IWM. You'll see it went 3-2 down yesterday and 2 down again today. They're continuing the reversal that occurred actually on Wednesday. So we'll see how this opens up. Given the whole market's gapping, what we say is we can let them open and discern the gap. We can look and see who's getting bought on the gap down, who's getting sold, and then look for 30 and 60 signals. Now, if you're going to try and trade right at the open, what a lot of traders will do is use that extended hours. So if we go to the futures, you'll see in the futures, we do have a 60 PMG down, so maybe you get the wipeout of those guys. However, if this fails to go anywhere further, we're stuck right in the middle of this range. So either we're going to get some nice reclaims or we're stuck in the middle. So I would prefer to let this open. I'm not in a rush. That being said, if we go, I don't know if my Thinkorswim is logged in. It is not. So we'll just use the scanner to go from, or to look at the relative strength at the open. However, with the whole market gapping down, one thing we've been talking about is oil, OIH, XOP, XLE. And what we'll see is OIH is gapping up with some Iran getting striked by Israel. XOP, it's gonna be gapping up big. Then XLE, it's gonna be gapping up big as well. So as of the title of this video, tracking institutional buying like a pro, how do we do it, right? How is this stuff going up? The rest is going down. And how are we long oil stocks? That is the main question. So the way we did this is something we call the simultaneous break. So we're going to see this week, 78% of the energies were going up this week. That's something good to know about. The other thing that was true is if we go to last week, Friday. Last week, Friday, 71% of the energies were going up. If we look at the month, look at the previous month, Friday. If we go on the month, you'll see it was only 34%. However, how many of those were going down last month? None, right? You had 4% of downtrends, 34% uptrends in energies. And if we go look in there, it's going to be your uraniums, which are already going. So like CJ was already going. URA would fall under here. OKLO would fall under here. I believe they fall into the utilities categories as well. So if we look at utilities, you see OKLO, NRG, CEG. These are all uranium utilities / energy stocks. So we already knew uraniums were going up. And then what happened was we had this inside week up last week at the beginning of the week. So when that week broke inside and up across all the energies, let me pull it up here. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong section. I was wondering why I couldn't find it. So when the energies all simultaneously took the week up, what we saw was this. And this was on 603. So we saw the market at this point was confirming to start the week. And then at 9:30 in the morning, XLE, XOP, and OIH all trying to take that week up with OIH leading. So OIH was leadership to this because it was the first one to do it. We also had energy numbers come out the next day, but you'll see how XLE took last week's highs last week. That was what we call 2-1-2 reversal. So you'll see it went from making lower highs and lower lows to making higher highs and higher lows. So that's what a reversal looks like. So XLE reversed. XOP also reversed, making higher highs and higher lows. You'll see taking previous week's highs. OIH also reversed, and you'll see it closed the strongest, so it was leading the energy sector. So when that happens across all of the energies, it tells you there's institutional buying occurring. And the reason that's important is because that's how we know to hold. Because if this is going to go from, 224 to 290 or 300, you're going to have all the energies doing that. Whereas if only one part of the energy sector breaks, you're going to have less evidence. And because of that evidence, you can hold it until it reverses. So when we see all the energies break last week's highs, we can go after it until it reverses. What this also does, because not everyone here is a swing trader or, investor type, because this works across the month, quarter, year timeframes the same way. This also tells you have definitive direction and bias. So if we know energies are going up, as long as we don't take out the previous week's lows, it's still making higher lows. So we can say this is invalidation, or it'd be a reversal against us. So if it does not reverse, it's still going up. And then the way we can use that is when we go to a daily chart, we can say, when this goes inside day up, we can buy it because the weekly is still going up. Or when we go 2 down on the day and then reclaim that, we can buy it because the weekly is still going up. So it gives us definitive direction until this bigger trend reverses. And that's how we actually managed to do this yesterday. So we'll see in OIH, this is what we call triangle day out. They took yesterday's lows, right? Which is something we want to know about. And then it goes inside bar on the 5-minute and reverses. Boom, right there, we can buy it. And what we did is like this. So in this case, it gapped, but I want the stock. So I just bought it like so to get additional position into my trade. I did this with weeklies. So, you know, admittedly, I didn't have a ton of size additionally on the weekly entry. However, regardless of the size, since OIH moves so much, these are probably going to open, you know, about $7 to $8 in the money after closing very slightly out of the money yesterday. I used the 245 calls on the 620 expiration, so actually next week's. And so even with, in this case, it was like, what, $400 position, it's probably going to open up around $1,000. So we don't need that much, but this only works when you have the high amount of evidence to get into those trades, because you can do this type of entry, right? Could be any stock. If we delete this, could be any stock, you can do the same entry. But the ones that are going to keep blasting off, we have evidence of institutional buying or selling going on. So in this case, all the energies were a buy. So that being said, we're going to be opening those up today, and we'll see how the energies play out. And on the gaps, we got just about a minute. We'll also see gold gapping up today, which makes sense. For some reason, you know, Israel's making the whole market kind of afraid this morning. But we'll be disseminating the gap, so we don't have any, you know, a ton of focus right away at the open. I'm fine to be patient, and we're probably only going to be streaming for about an hour. I want to get outside and I want to golf, so we'll see what we can do. All right, we should be opening up here in any second. Yep, 1 second. Here it is. So we'll see SPY starts a slight gap down, and then right away it goes red. If you're going to play that kicker when it's red, we can, but we'd like to use like a 1 minute signal if you're going to do that, and we're not going to alert those. And if it's green, it's potential rev strat. So might take a second for the dailies to show up here. But we start slightly green on the SPY, slightly green on the Qs. Down IWM still slightly red. So you can see about half the market, 60% of the NASDAQ taking yesterday's lows, utilities, staples to the highs. So more defensive posturing, at least to start the morning here. And actually, I totally forgot I was on historical data. It did not look up right, so let me get that real data shown up for you, but it's going to look very similar. So if SPY is reclaiming yesterday's lows, we could go after the reclaim buy above 59927. Just be aware that everyone was long yesterday, so it's got to stay above that. We're going to see them buy it back. And the reason I say that is because once we get back into yesterday's range, those buyers of yesterday, they may want to get out of their longs, right? So you just want to be aware of how that's going to play out. It's got to stay up there. So far, right on the reclaim, they do end up rallying about 40 cents. Energies, XLE to the highs, XOP to the highs, OIH to the highs. Beautiful. Beautiful. So SPY on the reclaim, good. Qs is close to reclaiming. And you got gap down buy to start across the whole market there. If we look at the daily, Gosh, why are we still on historical data? Might have a little bug going on here. And what we want to do is we want to go see who's at 2 up on the day. Financials, non-cyclicals, 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 non-cyclicals. So Hershey's, leadership in the staples today, this morning, just continuing yesterday's stuff. And then look at all the energy sectors. See how it's in orange? That's where we want to be. All right, so you can see today, about 38% of the SPY down, but almost all of those are green. 16% 2 up, and almost all of those are green. So most 2s and 2s going 3 today are green. Energies has almost 90% going to the upside with 2% to the downside. And it looks like you got some uraniums, CCJ 2 down or inside day down. LEU, which is your coal, inside day down to start, but good rev strat. SEDG is about to go 2-2 day with the energies. SEDG to the upside, confirming energies. Then NXT is a gap down buy in the energies. But you can see, notice how pretty much everything's green on the gap down. That's what a gap down buy looks like. So unless that changes, we'll see if this buyer is able to bring it back. Again, though, everyone was long into the close on SPY yesterday, so just gotta be aware of that. Palantir is getting bought. Ooh, the rev strat day. So a 325er PLTR to try and rev strat the day. Verizon's also getting bought a little bit today. XLE did flip back to red with some 3-minute 2-2 reversal down to start the morning. XOP is also 2-2 3-minute down to start the morning. So gap up and sell, they're taking some profit. You can see a lot of energies flip back to red. SPY on the second fiver of the day is red, as you see. And we'll see inside a slight triangle out one around the SPY. Not sure if that's going to be able to cause a 2 on the fiver. We'll see if we can get some inside bars. SPY's inside, Q's inside, Dow is inside, IWM is inside, but closer to a 2-2 up in IWM. While the market pukes, LLY is inside day up in the energy sector. So it's going to be relative strength in there with XLVs also inside, or 2 up day. Ooh, industrials, XLI has a 15 Or you could say 10-minute 2-2 reversal setting up to go pivot machine gun day to the upside. Like Lockheed Martin's one of those guys, NOC, so the defense sector, GD, RTX, GE, not so much. Boeing, not so much. But you got a lot of defense sector going. RTX just went red to green move day. NOC is continuation fiver. So the XLI with the DFEN is relatively a lot stronger today. Defense has an inside day. SPY, so you can see very slight triangle out oneer. They go to the other side of the range. Now, can it stay up there if they're going to get the inside fiver up going? Because this is your little triangle to start the day. For now, they are. You can see at this point on SPY, we do have a period of full time frame continuity, the day, the week, the month, and currently the 60 groups. Since we're a 2 down, though, on the 60-minute basis, we need to be 2 up on the 5, the 15, the 30s. So you can see right now we're still scenario 1, 2 down, 1 to start the day. We need to see that reverse so we can give control to the buyers. Since it's right at the open, control only lasts as long as 5 minutes if this went 2 up right now, which actually closes out in about 5 seconds. So if we go inside fiver up, that signal would last for 5 minutes, and then it exhausts. If we go inside down, it lasts for 5 minutes, and then it exhausts. So we'll have to see as things open up a little bit here. SPY is inside, Qs closer to tenors to the upside, but opening 1. Dow Jones stuck in the middle, IWM inside. It's time to go golfing. Yeah, that's how I feel, Chuck. But with the gappers today, it's hard not to, right? OIH fivers back up. 222. XLE could be 222 fivers. XOP 222 fivers. So energy is trying to go back to the highs. Energies. It's gonna be your favorites: XOM, CVX, X, Fang, Oxy. All names that you could focus on in the energies today. MPC, VLO. MPC just broke a 2-2 back up. VLO just took the day 2-1-2 up in VLO. You see SPY is still double inside fiver, which makes it firm, but it's not rallying. CFLT. It is inside month and up, so you got all month above last month's highs. Currently an inside week for next week, so you're gonna look for the 3-1-2 week up to confirm the month up if you're gonna play that. Golf vlog? Oh no, I don't know if we can do that. I do have a tripod, but not for that reason. Hilarious though. They tried the fivers up, but it's not successful on the energies, so you might turn into tenors down. Still gapping up and selling, taking their profit. US oil this morning, kind of just sitting around. So what this gives us now in the oil is a little broadening formation. We go in here on the oneer. This is what we call a good morning triangle. So you see high, new low, new high, and then here it is. So this will get bigger throughout the day and expand. So we'll see, you know, can that get bigger for us? So we can actually have a nice range to trade through in oil today or not. So to start the morning, we could say tech is strongest with Qs. Just being firmest index as far as we're seeing. And then as far as strongest sector, it's healthcare's, which is your LLY. There's also MRK in there. So US 500, if we're looking at it, you can see we did reclaim the 60 lows in here. So we can target new highs, or we can attempt to. Now, what we also have now is internal triangles. So you can see they went 2-2 down, went nowhere, then 3, and now we're just sitting right in here. So if you go to the 5-minute, this is the broadening formation that we're working with on the futures this morning. So any entries taken up a high day, this is going to be short-term exhaustion on the futures. And this includes the SPY then, right? And right now we're mother bar to this stuff. ASTS, ooh, still good. From our Tuesday night inside day list. Still going 13%. Beautiful. And notice triangle expando of these guys. So that's going to be a good one the rest of the year too. Scanner is showing energy with the most twos up, but notice all of them are red. So although the most twos are up, notice they're all red. That is a rejection. They're taking profit on the gap up. Because what happens as well is when you have the whole market do one thing. It's like, let's say the whole market gaps down like today, right? Notice SPY's green, Q's is green. So they gap down to cover all their shorts. So it's going down, yes, but they're getting out. So on the gap up energies, think if you've been holding energies for the past 10 weeks or whatever it may be, you know, the past 8 weeks, 56 days, this gaps up and finally you have a reason you can take some off. So they're using this news to sell. And this is why we talk about gap up, sell, gap down, buy, because you can have the most bullish news in the world. And, you know, let's say news comes out, the company beats earnings by 25%, gaps up 80 points. Every hedge fund in the world can go in there and sell into that gap up and fill their whole position on that day because of the good news. There's more liquidity at higher prices. So when it gaps up, they sell the whole thing down and everyone's like, it was good news though. Why did it go down? And that's why. So good news, maybe not good news, but news that's positive for energies gives everyone else that's been buying this a reason to get out at higher prices. So whenever we gap up, if we're going to buy it, that's why we need to see it go down first. So this 225er could have sent it flying, but since it didn't work, doesn't look like that's going to happen. Right now, their tenors down. SPY went fibers inside down with the Qs, with the Dow Jones, with the IWM. So all those inside bars starting lower to start the day to the US 500. Now, this is another thing to know about these inside bars is you'll see we're still mother bar to this stuff. So it could rev strat, and that would try and get it back to the highs, but these 3 bars stuck inside of here. So are we going to get out of that? ELTR did go 3-2 15ers after 3-2 5ers, gives you an outside day to the upside. Above 137.10 PLTR is rev strat day in force, and that's relative strength there. You're going to see this little good morning try in the SPY so far, like we showed you prior. Here's your little good morning try, and then they go right back to the bottom of it. And now inside oneer, they're trying to go back to the top of it, and they're still chopping them up. So this is how big that range is right now. Pretty tiny. We have a lot of inside 15s, and we can get an exact number here. $250 inside 15s, 676 twos to the downside on the 15, which is interesting. Or actually, no, 306 twos down. 2 up 67. So, wow, looks like the numbers keep changing. Well, we just opened them, so it does make sense. 2 down 80, my bad. 2 up 67. 1, 973. So guess what? Most of the market's a scenario 1 on the 15. Including the SPY, which looks like they did keep that fiver in force. Dow Jones went 2 down. Q's still a little bit more firm compared to other indexes. Real estate's about to take the day inside down into a pivot machine gun. So real estates do take the day inside down into a pivot machine gun. I'm not sure who's doing that. We didn't have a lot of inside days in real estates before. CBRE is one of them. AMT is one of them. Taking yesterday's lows, but Geo. Not 100% sure where that's happening, but we do have real estates doing that. Real estate sector. It looks like Geo is leading the downside, and that's really the only one that I'm seeing that's doing much of anything here. There may be some holdings in XLRE that are not on the scanner for some reason. PLD, well, let's see. So PLD is not showing up there for some reason. Well, Equix, SPG, oh. Yeah, you can just trade the ETF directly if you're going to play that inside down. Either way. So for now, the US 500, you can see they go inside 5 down. They haven't rev stratted it, but there's still these 4 bars inside of this bar. So the way that works is we're an inside bar, and every single one of these bars changes or confirms what's happening. So you can see they're selling, and now they're buying. And then it might go back to selling and then buying. And they do that until they get out of here. So this is what we call mother bar problems. And if you were trading yesterday on the SPY, you met the mother bar. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours of mother bar problems. Now, if they can't get back into that, then it's expansion to the downside, which you can see for now, it's like down and then up, and then they bring it right back in. But you can see we're no longer into yesterday's range. So they poked up. They're trying to sell them back down this morning. To change that, we're still just mother bar to this stuff. OIH now 15ers down. XOP, XLE is also 15ers or close to 15ers down. CVX is 15ers down. FANG went 15s down. It's nowhere near going outside day though, although You see, if we go to the energies, notice almost all of them are 2 up in red. If we look at XLE, on a 15 basis, 27% are 2 down. On 30-60 basis, they're still going up. So right now, about 40% of the energies are rejecting the gap up on the 15. PLTR, after going in force, they're still up at the highs. Spotify, inside day gap down buy to start. Inside 15.31 to confirm and negate the gap down buy for an outside day. And that is Spotify, SPOT. App is also inside 15.31, 331 actually, which could cause a RevStrat day to the upside pivot machine gun app. This is actually reclaiming some previous levels, previous lows in here. So this 15 on app could send them flying. I'm actually going to keep that one up just to make sure we don't miss her. Got about 6 minutes to the second 30s of the day to confirm or negate the gap down, which currently you can see fivers there, trying to bring them back still for SPY. And this re-breaks the inside day down. So SPY going green to red on the day would be, they tried to buy it back. However, the seller came back, or the people who were long yesterday came back and closed out their position, so they're selling. Now, the question then is where's that going to go? If we go to the week, it could become a scenario 3 on the week. Now, it is Friday, so we don't have much time to do it. But we would see that day and the week and the 60 go red. So SPY is still an inside 15. Qs is 2 up in red. Dow is 2 down. IWM is 2 down. So SPY and Qs will either confirm the Dow and IWM, which are weak, or negate. So SPY does go green to red move day, 325ers down, changing the daily continuity level. You can see on US 500, although we're mother bar, it's a little bit choppy in here. We're still mother bar. So still completely within this 5-minute bar. At this point, we've got about 679 15ers, still about, or inside 15ers, about 4 minutes till the close. SPY is still closer to becoming a 2 down, and Dow and IWM are the weakest. You see IWM is actually a potential 3-3 week. If it runs out of time, 3-2-2 next week. SPY is still green to red day. So inside day down in force on SPY with the week changing to red. And if it stays red, we got some initial target at 596.86, and then a question mark if they're going to be able to go an outside week today. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see what the VIX looks like. The VIX is 15 inside up, so a little bit of fear from those guys. And it's up into 22, which is, or 20 now. Hopefully that can go a little higher because, you know, we've been down in the dumps at like 16 recently, and it's just not been as fun intraday. And if we get the rest of the market puking, here's SPY 2 down 15er. So the green to red move on the day, SPY getting that day puking. All the energies are 15-2 down for the gapper traders and the energies. And you can see that's about 40% of the energy market now. So right now, the only leadership we have is slightly in utilities, you know, slightly in the NASDAQ. If you look at the day, you got 50% of the market reversing today. You can see how many twos up we had yesterday and twos down. So yesterday we had 563 twos down, 349 twos up. Today we have 663 twos down, 241 twos up. So the leaders on the upside, it's LLY, and then Lockheed Martin, Oracle, some of your defense sector names like Costco. On the downside, MasterCard, Visa are the brightest red to start the morning. Goldman Sachs, Boeing. Check the percentages as well. Biggest percent losses now, real estate's Geo. So the US 500 finally takes the low of the mother bar, but you can see second 30 of the day, they reclaim it. And here's the new 30s. So SPY opens as a 1, 2 down 1. Q's opens as a 1, 2 down 1. Dow Jones opens as a 1. IBM opens as a 1. Energy, XLE opens 1, OIH opens 1, XOP opens as a 1. Uranium opens inside 15 or up, firming up a little bit, URA. That's really the only one I see firming up at all. Maybe Oklo with the big 30-minute broadening formation. Uraniums want to try and recover this gap down. CCJ is a 1, but it's also going to have a little bit of a 30 broadening formation. We'll see. So right on the second 30 of the day, we see energies 225er reclaiming the previous lows. XLE, XOP, then OIH is a little bit spreadier, but it's going to look very similar. See XOM reclaiming some of the fiber mother bar. They're going to be inside 30s, but that is something to note. We got a lot of 5 or 2 twos with the energies on the 30 change. Real estate's about to hit daily target 1 off the 312 down, and that can trigger, like we said, that daily PMG in the real estates here. Or you see all these pivots lined up for the taking, which would be a rev strat on like a 2-week chart. So on the second 30 of the day, the first fiver of that 30, we do see that buyer come back a little bit in the energies. Now the question then becomes is can that stay scenario 2? Because inside 30, now 2 up 15. So you can see 2 up, 2 down, and then 2 back up. So if it's a gap up buy, you always want to see that 2 down and then the 2 up. Since this isn't an actionable signal, it's just a 2 down, 2 up, it's less likely to go right away on this 15er. Normally the second 15 is where that follows through. But for now, energies is where we see still the most strength. Just on the new flip, SPY is just inside 30, Doji, Q's inside 30, Dow is 2 down, IBM is inside 30. Shenanigans, HUSA on the gappers, gap up and buy, bright green to start the day, HUSA. Also, RBNE is gap up buy to start the day. Inside month and up. Still has magnitude, another $10 on that. You see almost all the energies 2-2 reversal 15er on the second 30 of the day. So if we go and look in there, see most of the market's still going down. Healthcare's up, energy's up, and then some materials up. So this is what we would consider rotation. And since we have leadership in the energies, it makes it easier if they're going to try and recover indexes. Now at this point, they're inside 15s and 30s on indexes, so that need to change the 2s up. But whenever you have some leadership, it's going to be easier to get those indexes to reverse. Whereas if we had none, then, good luck. So we'll see how that plays out. Still a lot of inside 30s energies. So there's not, if we go in there on the 30 basis, you can see it's kind of meh. A lot of inside bars right now, 873 to be exact. So that's going to have to change. And if you're a 30-60 guy, you just, wait, right? Called disseminating the gap for a reason. We want to find discernible buying or selling by sector via the signals. And definitely say financials is weaker. Mostly Visa, MasterCard doing that. MasterCard did go a measured move with Visa. That gets the Dow Jones some relative weakness. Side of that, though, a lot of inside. You see US Oil, the good morning triangle, they expanded it, made it bigger. At this point, they're trading through. They got around like 40, 50% through it. Now, it's also going to be, let's see, looks like it's a 2 going 330 minutes. It's a little different than the other energies, but coming back through it. XOP coming to the other side of their reclaim of the morning lows. Still an inside 30. SPY inside 5 are closer to going down. Qs goes down. 15ers 2-2 down. Qs confirming Dow and IDBM weakness. So still some weakness into the indexes here. All the energies are firm though off your 225ers after the reclaim. A lot of 312s down. Crowd, Meta, Smell. App, not so much, but it's closer to it. So not going to get those upside moves like we were hoping to see on those guys. SPY, here's new low day off the inside 5 down. All the market pukes, energy still firm. So for now, SPY still green to red on the day. Not quite taking out the next pivot target. Still red on the week. Obviously, nowhere near scenario 3 week, although that can change depending on how aggressive they want to be. Tech has a little bit of a kicking pattern, green to red move today, so they got some pivots to come back through in here, nearby in the XLKs. ELTR, after taking yesterday's highs, did not stay up, goes 322.15s back down. You can see on US 500 after top of the triangle, they're about 90% through that. Now, the question then is still, like we said before this morning, when we look at it, we're within this range here. So how are we going to get out of that? We'd have to expand the triangle up or down. At this point, we're trading back through it, but we're not expanding anything. So if we could expand the downside of this, getting below these guys, 5980.4, we could PMG all through this stuff, take out the lows. If we expand above it, then we may be strong enough to take these highs out, right? And this is where, can we get simultaneous breaks today? Or they go and buy everything? Because that's going to help us out to get us out of this stuff. For now, we don't have much of that to talk about. Just a lot of continuations in inside bars. We can see SPY this morning. We don't quite have a triangle yet. We have lower lows that we've made in here, but no higher highs. Normally that means, sorry. gonna say normally that means you get some higher highs coming, but at this point we still have no reason to believe we're gonna have recovery quite yet. Oklo. Oklo is still 2-2 up 15er. And one of the things we mentioned was uranium's firmed up. So we'd prefer see that firm. For now, uraniums could become RevStrat 15 down and negate that though. So may change what's going on though. Also, yeah, thank you for the, what is it called? A super chat? I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. Is that an indicator time frame continuity bars? Yeah. Sorry, guys, I haven't had Discord chat open. Apple, you think there's more downside? Well, we gotta know. The magnitude of Apple is to take this out. If we stay below that, it'll expand into these guys. So once you go outside day, you have that. And then once you have that, if you stay below it, you get all of this stuff down in here much further. And we'll know second 60 of the day if that's a 3-2 getting out of there. And you'll see how that daily outside bar triggers the weekly rev strat, can trigger the inside month down. This would be one of the weakest stocks in the market. Next to things like Okta, which are taking last month's lows. MACD, yeah, 312 day to the upside. You're gonna have the weekly continuity setting up the 2-2 week. And I believe is that, yep, inside month. So you'd be rev stratting the month on the third week of the month. So it's definitely something you can be looking for next week too. Yeah, we actually talked about this on Wednesday. We said McDonald's, while the market was puking, went 3 to the upside, so likely to be one that recovers. And that's with like your staples and stuff, which are firmer today. RevStrat 15 up right now in the XLP, so definitely have some help there, so to speak. All right, so a lot of the energies after ripping on the fibers. There's some slight profit takers. We'll see what the next 30s bring. Just got to be aware those are 30 inside bars, so they could go to shooters real quick because no one has control. Hughes is an inside 30 at this point. IDBM is an inside 30 at this point, with about 10 minutes to the second 60 of the day. So we'll either confirm or negate what we know to be true so far, and what we know to be true so far is the market's, kind of down, kind of up. What we'd say, or what we'd discern that as, is lackluster. Like you can see, financials are the weakest, but 20% of those going down. 30% healthcare's up. Some energy's up. Why trade? That's how I feel, right? Why not just go golf? Rather use some 4-letter words on the course than at the screens, right? On that note, I ordered some new golf clubs at the end of not last month, but the previous month, and I'm just going to get them on Monday. It's so frustrating. Spy is inside 5 down, so they're still just grinding her down. I grabbed a few puts on the green to red day on Spy, not a lot, just because I was giving it a little room to try and play out, and they're doing something. It's not nothing. It's just, can that get better for the short side of things? Look at Spy or the US 500 now. You can see, probably would have been better if I had the short up there, but so be it, right? Now we're at the lows. The question always is with the broad information, if these guys bought it, what happens when we take this out? Are they still long? Do they have to sell? Or is everyone short and then all the shorts start buying their shorts back? So now that we've done that on Spy, here's your broad information playing out for the good morning triangle on the futures. Can you stay out of the bottom of that? Because if you do, then you get the big puke, take out everybody. And that would give you like, 60 points on the futures. And if not, you got like 36 points the other way. So we'll see. And you can see there's a lot of volume coming in at the lows there. So I'm willing to reduce. Yeah, what do you think? We just snipe the lows, Uncle Amu? Just smack some calls? I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, right? Get some like 600 strikes. I would like to see another lower low first, though. At the very least. We still have this gap on Spy that we're trying to get into at 596.86, which is that daily pivot we were talking about. So you see 3 on the US 500 and then 2 down, but reclaims a 3. So that it's 30 points on the other side of that range. So it's going to be closer to a RevStrat 5er at the bottom of the broad information on Spy. You might have a simultaneous 5er, and what the ICT traders would say, there's an SMT divergence, which really just means Q's sellers were too weak to make new lows. So we'll see if those 5ers kick in, then you might have a little bit of more firmness in the market. In the energies, man, wouldn't it be something if we could reclaim this news mother bar in the energies and rip all the way up into here today, about 4%? That'd be pretty cool. But you'll see the mother bar here on the energies 5er after the reclaim. They're still going. XOP. You'll see after the reclaim on the 5er energies, it's still going. And same thing, you got a lot of these mother bars with the news event with the pre-market data on. And OIH, you're going to see, is actually doing the same exact thing, although it's like a lot more illiquid in here. I'm not sure how illiquid. Let's see. Yeah, they're trading like 1,000 shares every 5 minutes, so not the best. Hughes, new flip, nothing changes. SPY, nothing changes. Still inside red fivers. Same with Dow, same with IWM. So no reversals there as of now. So you can see 1, 2 down, lower highs, lower lows. 1, lower highs. So has it reversed yet? No. So they may try and sell it again to get that triangle expando. Given no reversal against, it's not going the other way. So we'll see how that changes. We should not be muted. Dix, oh yeah. TMO, not quite. Twilio. Yeah, Twilio finishes all off for you. I should not be muted. Don't believe that is a possibility. Sorry for community stage people. Audio's okay for me, can't hear anything. Weird. Well, I just re-streamed. Sometimes that fixes things for people. So futures still no reversal, although they did hammer the fiver, still inside bar fiver. If that goes inside down, it'd be momentum to try and kick the triangle into expansion. So that could be a problem for the buyers there. And what that does is that would take, if we go back to SPY, it would take anyone who's long the SPY from yesterday into further loss, right? So if we look at yesterday's trading, everyone was long. The redder this gets, the worse it gets for those guys and the last, 4 days worth of traders in here that were buying. So at this point, we're still not seeing them try to recover. Tech is starting to kick into those pivots for the PMG and XLK. Semis is also starting to hit the lows. So a little bit of problems there. And this is on the second 60 of the day, opening up in 2 minutes. You can see when you look at the fiver triangle, they're now trying to get out of it on the US 500. They went inside bar, but then they broke scenario 2 down. So this triangle, if they can close out and stay out of that, then this kicks into expansion of this triangle. And these PMG on the left, bigger problems. Now, if we go outside of it and then reclaim it, still a broadening formation. So if they're not outside of that, it's not bearish. So gotta stay down. IWM will have an inside 30 to the next 60 change to confirm direction to the downside or negate direction to the downside. And here's the second 60 of the day SPY. Mind the flip. We say each 60 is like a new day because it can change what's occurring. So the new open is at 596.78 on SPY. We'd like to stay below that if the sellers are going to stay more aggressive. If we're above it, then they're coming back the second 60 of the day. They're taking their profit of the short in scenario 1. At this point, you're nowhere near reversing. So how's that going to become a 2 up or down on SPY is the question. SPY green to red on the new 60s, trying to go 2 down. Top golf or an actual golf course? I do everything. Normally with trading and like as of recent, just busy, I use the range. But it's just because like if I go out as a solo, I have to, especially if it's during, like if it's a nice day and recently like on the weekend or whatever, it's like it's a 5-hour round because you'll just have 4s and 4s and 4s on the whole course and they just overbook the crap out of them. So I love going on Monday mornings because Sarah's streaming and I'm not. I also love going Friday mornings because normally Sarah's streaming and I'm not, or normally my streams are shorter Friday. And you just have less people on Mondays. So I can go as a solo and play, 18 holes in less than 2.5 hours. If I go quick. But so at this point, Dow Jones still confirming the downside as the relative weakness in the index is still. MasterCard and Visa going to be your main culprits there, as well as Boeing, not having a good time there. Tech is inside in green to start the new 60. Energies, XLE went 30s up with the OIH, but they are red. So right now they're trying to counter that. They haven't really done much yet. Uranium 2260s up. Uranium, URA. CCJ hammer 60 up. CCJ. Simultaneous. Oklo is also closer to joining that party. So there's some discernible buying attempting in the uraniums, which have been strong this month, this week. SPY on the new 60 is still green. So they went red and then back green, and now they're a little greener. So if this goes inside 5 up on the SPY, that'd pivot machine gun all the shorts of the morning. So you want to be, if you're a short guy, you want to know that. And the reason is because that 60, what happened is in the morning, we saw they tried to buy it, then the seller came in, right? And then they continued selling. New 60 opens. It is still going to be a scenario 1, so we want to know that. But second 60 of the day, they're either profit taking the short or there's a different buyer in here that's trying to show up. Now the question then becomes is, how much evidence do we have? Since we're inside 60, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make that happen, but we have a PMG to speed it up. So we'll be diligent. You just want to make sure you're not holding on to it if you get an inside 5 here and it starts coming the other way. Let's see. So you can see like right now, if we go to the 60s, 1,000 inside 60s, right? So everything just firmed up. How many 2s down do you got? 100. 2s up, 35. So, 90 something % of the market's not going up or down right now. It's pretty nuts. And it's about 50-50 on the inside 30s, about 886 inside 30s. So pretty much everything just went inside. And this is where, patience, if you're going to try this, you can go and try and play it smaller at low day. If it works, you can add to it on like the 30s, 60s as they start firming up further. Or you can be really patient, because if the whole market just went 1 on the 60, you got a 2 coming, and it's going to come in about 54 minutes, unless they become a 2 to the downside or 2 to the upside, which could be harder to become 2 up. So you might get a simultaneous break. Let's see. Uses 5ers up, still inside 60. Dow Jones, no reversal. It's almost back to red 60, so there's still, we'll see your Visa, MasterCard, Boeing. Seems like Visa, MasterCard, still weakness in the Dow. SPY, double inside 5, so still a lot of insides there. 60, 15, and 30. McDonald's trimming from yesterday. Yeah, we'll see. I guess soldiers like Big Mac. Yeah. What is it? The US military can create a fully functioning Burger King anywhere in the whole world in like 24 hours? Something like that. It's crazy stuff. SPY does go 5ers up, so we get some firming up. Still an inside 60. If you look at the futures, we have the sideways 60, which is the ones that open at like 8, 9, 10. That would be a 2 down on the futures, and then reclaim with a 5er to reclaim this scenario 3. So on the futures, it's a little different. Let's see this broadening formation here. Now, can that do something good for you guys? This is probably the last thing we'll be talking about before I end the stream off. So you see Qs has reclaimed the morning lows with tech relative strength, as far as we know. And this good morning try now is starting to look like this on the Qs. So here it is, new high, new low, trying to go into the new highs. Now, it's still a question mark. I don't know if we're going to be strong enough, but that's what they're doing. SPY, as we were saying before, you get all these lower lows. Normally that means you get a higher high. Now we have a little bit of evidence that's trying to happen, right? The 60's green, but it's still a scenario 1. So not going to get too high hopes too quick. But in reality, right, if we do recover, this whole move, you don't need that much at the lows here to make a lot. If we were to go like 7 points end of day, the 0 DTEs, that's fine. So we'll see how that happens, or if what happens, right? But we're still scenario 160. This is occurring after the slight lower lows. So you have that. And we get the 2-1-2 simultaneous break later in the day, about 50 minutes. That is my question. And you're going to see the pivot machine gun on SPY did kick in. Pivot, 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 pivot. Taking out these guys slightly faster. Healthcare's 3-on-2 up. It's going to be relative strength to the rest of the market, as we pointed out earlier in the day. Now, as far as which ones are doing that, I don't know. UNH, LLY, MRK are kind of flat. Technologies just went 15 or reversal. Now, what we could do to find the relative strength is we could go and look for inside 30s up. That would give us the stronger of the bunch. Non-cyclicals, cyclicals, tech, healthcare, tech. So good chunk of tech in there. It's not a ton of known names by us. TOS slow, or is it just me? I guess it's not just you, at least from the sounds of it. All right, so your Fiverr PMG SPY did kick in. You got all the nearby pivots, which, you know, again, is not the biggest move because that's inside 60, but you get a buck. Now what you do is just reduce half and just say, okay, I'm going to put my stop at low a day. If this 60 is green above 596.77, I'm going to hold it. Right, and that's what low a day stop would be saying. So you can use 60 continuity as your level of risk or level of defense and say, if we're going to have a 60 2-1-2 reversal, probably not going to take that out, right? So if you're going to try to get in there for the end of day or, you know, third 60 of the day, 2-1-2, that's how you do it with the Fiverr. You go to the US 500. You can see we were back into the triangle. So what we'd say is, given no 5-minute reversal against, they're still trying to go up there, 60-11, and, you know, manage it how you like. Side of that, energies, although there's some 30s up in there, we don't see them doing too much. Uranium is going though. So the 30 uranium URA mention, the 60 mention, they're going. CCJ is working on it. OKLO did break. It's not enforced right now, so maybe that inside Fiverr can confirm it and get it moving. SPY cost me 500 reversal because you're rebooting. It's a shame. Hey, it happens, man. I actually bought like 8 Tesla options that one morning and lost like $2,000 in a couple minutes or something. Like maybe it was $1,000 in a couple minutes. Not even. It was like literally 45 seconds, and I was just like, "Oh, my bad." All right. Well, so what we can say, and this is where some traders get messed up with the inside bars. If you're trading during a 1, what's happening is consolidation, right? Doesn't mean it can't be heavily directional. However, this is a higher low and a lower high. So what that tells us is, since we're making higher lows, we're not going down. Lower highs, we're not going up until we take this out. Then it'd be a higher high. So you can see they buy it, but then we didn't trigger anyone into a losing trade. Because if you're short against the morning highs, you're still fine, right? You're not taken out. So if we get a move and then no one goes into a losing trade, what happens is you just go back the other way because they bought it and then they get out. So for example, you can see goes down, then it goes into new highs, right? So we take out these morning highs here. Those guys go into a losing trade. Boom, you take them out, and that was it. No one's in a losing trade anymore. Everyone's long. Then they go back the other way. You take out the longs, and then everyone's short. Then you go the other way. And so when you're doing this during an inside bar, what's happening is you don't have control on the scenario 1. If you go to the 30, it's also an inside 30. So they don't have control. It's not an uptrend. The buyers don't have control on the 30. It's lower highs still. Go to the 15. It is a 2 up on the 15 for 40 more seconds. Once the 15 closes out, it's going back to a 1, unless it can become another scenario 2. So when we look at this, the Fiverr is the only scenario 2 we had here and here, and then here with the 15. Then that's going to close out, and then we'll go back to 1 on everything. So it goes from nothing to scenario 2, 2, 2. And then it's going to go back to 1 in here, unless they can become a 2 again, which means we'd have to take this out. So at this point, given the inside 60, the shooter Fiverr, it could try and change the whole thing, which is why it's all about risk management when you're trying to mess around with those guys. For now, you'll see, now they go back to 1 on the 15, 1 on the 30 minute, 1 on the 60. There is no control. We're also a 1 on the 5, now becoming a 2. Dow Jones is fivers back down. It is 2 down 30, 60, so it's a little weaker there. Visa MasterCard inside fivers down, trying to go momentum of the morning move. Energy's 15ers back down, so after firming up, some profit takers there. And those are rev stretting the 30 inside bars, so that's trying to go to morning lows. OIH, XLE, and XOP, all those 15ers down are trying to go outside 30. Gold is closer to 30s up. Silver already went 30s up, so a little bit of firmness in the precious metals. JNUG, GDX, firm as well with gold, so a little bit. So you can see SPY goes 2 up, 2 down fivers, still an inside 15, 30, 60. Didn't go anywhere, never changed anything. Then they go right back in. Now this is stuck, 15, 30, 60 scenario 1. So what happens is, you'll see they come in, they try and go make new lows. They fail to do it. Now they reverse up. They're trying to make new highs to this stuff. They're probably going to fail to do that. So what's happening? The triangle's restarting. Down and then up and then down and then up. And then you get wrecked in here. So this is likely to go a little bit more sideways. Unless they can get out. It lagged that much. Well, if you contact them, like if you call Thinkorswim support, they will have, or they're likely to have, the time at which your order was sent through. They normally only cover the difference if you place the order, they received the order, and then they did not fill the order at market price at the time of it. Spine, Dow Jones, IBM, Hughes. You do have some fivers down trying to re-break. Now with the 3060 inside. Meh. I'm picky. I want the 3060s in my direction. You took a picture? Yeah, you should be able to call them and we'll sort it out. So SPY, although they did go down, tried to go up. You can see they're actually trying to get out the lows of this range. So this is the triangle, but you can see they're expanding it with the 5-minute signal, which, you know, lasts another 2 minutes to try and change something. Gold took the 30 hammer up. Gold, GLD. Still green fuckery going on. Good. USA, after mention of the 30s up, they rallied 32%. Some crazy stuff in the shenaniganers today. Outside of that, there's not much crazy stuff going on. On the SPY, fivers did go 2-2 down. They're 1 again, so 5, 15, 30, 60 inside. Closer to a 2 down fiver again, though, so we'll see. Oracle's ripping still? Wow, yeah, she is. You only had 3 red fiver corrective activities today. Google's also ripping still, which is interesting to see. The cool thing is our sorts on our scanner are done from the open, so it helps you identify those leaders, laggards. You're looking at this stuff. Looks like ISRG was the one in the healthcares we didn't see. Gap down by this morning. So you see US 500 still not changing the 60 continuity, which is down here on the SPY. Now, if you go back to the 1er, you can see how that triangle's starting to form. So they went up, then down, it got it a little bigger, and then back into it. Now they're trying to go slight higher highs here, and this is that inside 15, 30, 60 starting over the triangle. And other traders will see this as, you know, sweep, higher low, right? And that's true. You have lows, highs, higher lows, and then higher highs would be up here. So the fiver guys with the reduction, and then bumping your stop to the 60 open to try and stay in the trade. Hopefully they can see it pay off for them. So however you do the stops, you want to be in unless it reverses. But that's only if you have evidence. If you're just taking every single trade and you do it that way, like if you're like, I'm going to take every single inside signal I see, you're going to get wrecked. We can't do that. So what we want to do is we're going to line things up. So like this 5-minute signal with the pivot machine gun, which increases the evidence that we're going to create a winning position here. Because if this triggers, we'll go pivot, 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 and you're going to make that, you know, like dollar or whatever. And on the futures is 10 points. So what we want to do is we buy it. I wouldn't want to put my stop at low a day. Since it's a PMG, I'd like to put my stop at the low of the bar I'm entering on, because it should trigger this, then trigger this, and then keep going, and then trigger this and this and this, and it should just keep triggering. So if we go to a 1 minute, you can see this breaks with a hammer 1 minute, goes boom, triggers everything. This is why we don't need tight stops, or don't need wide stops. I mean, the reason we don't want wide stops is because it should break and do this right away if we're doing this correctly. Similar to if we look to this PMG in the morning at 9:10, it goes pivot, pivot, pivot. You're taking out people, pivot, pivot, and it's fast. This is what we want to do, because then we can be long or short on whatever the hell we want. Because I can just take and go, boom, I made my short reduced by half, and then my cost basis is up here. I could have my stop up here above where I entered. Or if here, buy it, boom, rips up, reversal. Alex told me to reduce half, you take half off. Now your cost basis is down here, right? Maybe it's here, depending on how much you reduce. But if you make 10 points and you reduce half, your cost basis goes down 10 points. Your stop can be below the morning lows, and that you're still going to be in profit or break even. So if we can do this and line the signal up into the previous range, ideally with full time frame continuity and the simultaneous breaks, then it should go quickly. So we don't want to put our stop all the way at low a day if we're buying it here. Now, when you're entering on things that are not pivot machine gun or, you know, actionable signals, hammers and shooters, let's say you're buying this 3-2-1er. Well, I'd be fine if you want to put your stop below here. Because if you don't have the hammers, the pivot machine gun, if you don't have that stuff, it's more likely you're going to get what we call micro triangle layout, where it goes up and then they go down, stopping some guys out, still a higher low, so it never reversed. And it goes back up, You'll see this is a hammer now. It breaks and then boom, takes this pivot, this pivot, this pivot, boom, takes out all these guys. New highs, all these shorts are now in a losing trade. So I'm fine with you doing that, but the problem is when you don't know what you're doing, you go in there and you're risking like $1, $1, and then you're down huge and you didn't create any winning positions. So if you know how to create the winning position, you can go wider. I'm fine with that, but we prefer to get them tighter, especially when you're learning. So like for example, on this fiver, we don't want to put it at the lows, right? We'd rather put it at the low of that fiver. On this 225er, we'd prefer to put it here. We don't want to put it at the lows. That's where we're going to have preference to put it. Versus if we're trading, let's say the Energy's weekly simultaneous break. Since we had a ton of evidence on that, when this went inside week up, we had about 70% Energy's reversing. It's going to be hard to reverse that. So we can just buy it and we can put our stop wider. We can say, unless it takes this out, we're making higher lows, which means we're going up. And then it takes higher lows here and it keeps going up. So we can walk our stops up and say, good, still good, still good. And then next week, still good, still good. We just walk it up with the simultaneous break. Keep old broadening formations. Broadening formations are always redrawn on a change in time frame continuity. So for example, when we were red day, red 60, we could draw this broadening formation out and say the day, the week, the 60 groups are confirming. Since they're confirming, we're going outside week, or at least attempting to do that. We're nowhere near doing it, but we're attempting to. Then when the second 60 minute of the day opens and goes green, we have to redraw right to left because the drawing is based on what we know to be true at any point in time. So we'd redraw it like this. When that 60 goes green here, we go draw, draw. Changes what you know. And if we look at it, lower low inside 60. So if it goes 212 reversal, at the minimum, we want to see high day. If that works, then we'd have this up in here to take out. 60506. So it'd be triangle layout, reversal, back in that direction to the upside. Versus, let's say we go inside bar, 2 up, and then red. So like the next bar opens like this. The second that goes red, it changes the target to low day because it'd be a rev strat, a 1, potential 3. So if we go here, it'd be this. The 1, and then it's 2 up, but red. Anytime it's below this high and red, it's trying to go here. So when we go and look at the chart, if that happens, it changes what we know to be true again. It made a higher high, and then it's red, it's trying to go to the lower lows. And if that happens, then this weekly broadening formation gets the control back. So you're going to see how it changes what's happening every 60 minutes, every day, every week, every month, based on continuity and when things occur. What clubs did I get? I actually got Ping. I went and I got a fitting. I was there for like 2.5 hours. I literally tried everything. I really like the Wilsons. The Wilsons sounded good. The blades were super good to hit. Like they're just so nice feeling. But I ended up going with the Ping i530s. And I can't remember what shafts I got, but I got some. I got like extra stiff. Gosh, what's the name of... It's not Telegram. What's the other one? WhatsApp? Yeah, WhatsApp. But I got the Ping i530s, yeah. Get fitted for your grip. Yeah, I do want to get some thicker ones. I think I got like slightly thicker than normal on mine. but I know what you're talking about. All right, so we got about a half hour until this is going to change. Now, when we look at SPY, the 30-minute did go to reversal. So at this point, higher lows, higher highs on the 30, but we go back to scenario 1 right here. So now it's back to no one in control. We go on the 60. 60 is still green, and you can see we've had a $2.50 move from the 60 change. So pretty nice move there. Energy, still a lot of inside 60 in all the energies. So you have 60 simultaneous break across pretty much the whole market, setting up for the next 60-minute bar. So watch out. And you can see this week's been just a mess. And then it kicks down and we draw our broad information. We're like, wow, this would be like an $8 move. And if it breaks or if it rev strats, it's like a nice big range, right? Either side of that will get our attention on the 60-minute. We get a nice big move end of the week. So everyone, I lost my money. Made some back, lost it all. And then boom, big move actually happens and everyone misses it, which we call a back ender, where it's really slow and then everything kicks back into gear towards the end. Tesla is 15 up, pivot machine gun, 30 rev strat PMG setting up. Tesla, 30 rev strat. Uranium is inside 30 at the highs. CCJ is inside 15, inside 30. Double inside 15, actually. You like them? Nice. Boeing set up for more downside. Well, you'd need a rev strat 60 if you wanted it to look really nice. However, this is what you're looking at on the 60 right now. You're going into the new lows. So when we're taking short trades, although we can take them down there, what we want is we want higher highs first. So we prefer not to just short into recent lows. So I'd rather they go up first. Similar to SPY, right? We could have shorted, right, in that morning 5-minute range to try and make the lows to change the day to red and get some of this. Then when it goes green here, boom, we're into recent lows and we just change to a buyer when this goes green. So it blows everyone out. And if you're shorting a low of day, you just got wrecked, right? Which is why it's important that we short at new highs and buy at new lows, just so we don't have that problem. You got 30 rev strats, XLE, OIH, XOP, 122s trying to set up. They are still inside 60, but they'd be setting up the 60s down. If they go 60s down, that's a good reason for me to reduce my energy position. Honestly, I want to hold it though. Financials could be a decent one to look for the triangle back up. You'll see this. So you can see higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher lows, higher highs would be up here. So financials, you could have the 2-2. That's normally JP Morgan, which will own the world, right? Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Ooh, that's a good looking one. You got 3 230s in the XLFs. Visa and MasterCard, they always love to buy the dips on those. Yeah, Visa went 30s. I apologize, we didn't see it. You can see this big broadening formation now, MasterCard, Visa. Semis 30s up. Yep, inside 30 up, semis PMG. So this could cause us to become a 2 on the next 60 if we get simultaneous 30s across everything, which we're starting to see. We go to the 30 basis, about 30% of the market firming up. You got some tech, most of the financials firmed up. And so you can see, although the day, if we go on the day, although the days are really red on XLF, that buyer or that seller's gone at this point. They sold everything they had. So some healthcare, some tech, some financials leading. That's what we see so far. And we pretty much nailed the low of day on the 5-hour SPY. The US 500 broadening formation we pointed out. Also nailed that on the reclaim, like we said, right? If it's below that, that's not a good looking chart. When it reclaims, bad looking chart turns good. So we'll see if they're strong enough to get out of that stuff. At this point, we're still the inside 60s. We got 23 minutes. I will let you guys deal with that. If you grab the 5ers at the lows at the PMG, then you don't got much to worry about, right? If you reduced, your stop can be low of day and you're risking their money, not yours. If you didn't reduce, you can still reduce and your stops can be even further than low of day because you have so much unrealized P&L to go after. So if they go 60s up, we can always add to it. If they don't, you can always leave your stop and just see if it gets better or worse as the day goes on. But that's all I've got for this morning. I want to get some golf in and I don't have much time to get out there. So I will see you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. And if you'd like to check us out, anyone that just randomly popped in here, you can go to stratalerts.ai and see us there. We have a free Discord. If you go to community, you can join the Discord, which, oh, it looks like we're missing the community invite link. So I'll have to get that updated. But if you're not in the Discord already, I'll drop the link shortly. Just give me a sec here. All right, this one's gonna be one that expires, so I'm just gonna throw it in the Discord chat. I'll put it in the description. It's gonna expire 7 days from now. I think there was one in the description already, which shouldn't expire, so actually check out the description. That being said, though, have a good rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.